How's it going, everybody? Welcome to SicErik Tech. Today we're going to be talking about the Motorola Edge and how I've been using this device for almost 2 weeks already. And yeah, I'm definitely liking this device. Definitely like it a lot more than last year's Motorola Edge by far. So very nice device. I'm going to go over the things that I like about it and the things that I don't like about it. But spoiler alert, there are a lot of things that I do like about this device. This is Motorola Edge 2022, and I went ahead and made a list. Fantastic device. If you could get this now at $499, definitely grab it now, because it probably will go up to its original price of $599 later on. But at $499, I think this is a steal with some compromises. And we're going to talk about those right now. Before we do, go ahead and subscribe. Click that bell icon, that way you get notified on future videos on SicErik Tech. So I did make a list on here on things that I do like and things that I don't like. So first and foremost, we're going to be talking about this display. This display, way better than last year's Motorola Edge and pretty much any other Motorola that's come out, because a lot of Motorola devices use LCD displays. This is an OLED. And it is at 144 Hertz. This is the fastest refresh rate that I've got on a smartphone out of all my smartphones right now. Colors on here are fantastic. The brightness, this phone gets way bright, especially outside. This is a bright, beautiful display, and I think the colors look great on it. The refresh rate is fantastic on here. Everything feels nice and smooth when you're scrolling on here. So no issues with the display. I definitely like this display a lot. Like, this is a very nice panel in my opinion, and I think Motorola knocked it out of the park with this. Last year's Motorola Edge did have some issues with the display as far as playing HDR content. All the colors were blown out. It was a huge mess, and it took several updates for Motorola to actually fix that. Going on over to performance on here. So the performance on the Motorola Edge has been actually quite nice. I've been surprised by it, even though this is running a MediaTek Dimensity 1050 chipset, 8 GB of RAM. I think this chipset is actually doing pretty well for what it is. I edited a whole video on the Motorola Edge using PowerDirector. Went by totally smooth. No hiccups on here, no lag whatsoever. I think the camera app takes a little long to open, but that's really an issue for a lot of other different phones as well. But as far as that goes, the other than the camera app taking a little while to open, to actually get started sometimes can be an issue, but this phone is actually pretty good, and it handles everything you throw at it, especially editing video, which is a chore for most smartphones. The LG Wing, I try editing videos on the LG Wing. It just lags, it stutters, it's choppy. This phone actually did pretty well. A big surprise on here, this phone has wireless charging. I did not know that when I got the device. I set this on a wireless charger. I'm like, I wish it had wireless charging. Let me try it. The thing started charging. So wireless charging on here is actually quite nice to have on a Motorola device. Plus you get 30-watt wire charging, no charger in the box. That's going to be in the things I don't like. And you also get reverse charging on here at 5 watts, 5,000 milliamp hour battery. This phone will definitely get you through a day and then some. So yeah, wireless charging on here, actually quite nice. I'm pleased to find wireless charging on a $499 smartphone. So the cameras on here are actually quite good, but the rear camera, I think, shines better than the front-facing camera. We're going to talk about the front-facing camera a little bit. The rear camera actually does pretty good. It goes toe-to-toe with some other devices and back and forth between like the LG V60. These cameras are actually quite nice. On the rear, you get a 50 megapixel main sensor, and then as far as your ultra wide, you get a 13 megapixel ultra wide plus your 2 megapixel depth sensor. And these cameras are actually quite nice during the day and at night. I am pleased with the rear facing cameras on the Motorola Edge. No complaints other than that camera app opening slow sometimes, but the pictures and the video from that rear facing camera actually come out pretty decent. Going on over to the design on here, so this is a huge improvement over last year's Motorola Edge. Yes, the design may be a little generic for most people. I would have preferred a glass back, but this phone is way thinner than last year's Motorola Edge. That 2021 Edge was too tall, it was too chunky, and way too heavy. This device, very thin. As you can see, it's a very thin device. Here it is compared to the OnePlus 10T, and it just looks so much thinner, and it's so much lighter than any other phone that I got. And that is a nice refreshing touch that Motorola did. This phone feels good in the hand. It's not too big, it's not too small. I think for my hands it's actually quite nice and quite perfect, and I definitely like the design. I would have preferred glass back. The plastic frame, I really don't mind. A lot of devices use plastic frame, glass on glass, but I would have preferred a glass back just to give it more of a premium feel. But still, I do love the design of this device. It's good to hold. The edges and the corners over here are rounded, so you don't get that dig into your palm. Very ergonomic and very nice. You get a nice curved back to it, so it's easy to hold in the hand with that flat display. A lot of people don't like rounded displays. The speakers, we do get stereo speakers on this device, so that's fantastic, and they sound really good. You get Dolby Atmos support, and I'm quite pleased. They don't get as loud as other devices, but they still sound really good in my opinion. The highs are there, the lows are there. I think the stereo speakers on here are quite nice, and they get the job done and are better than most devices that come out with just one speaker at this price range. Now, another perk is that I did get this off of T-Mobile. This is the T-Mobile variant, and you can get it for free if you add a line. I did not know that, so I added a line and got this phone pretty much for free on T-Mobile, so that's fantastic. A $500 smartphone, especially this one, for free is actually quite nice. So check out T-Mobile if you want to pick this up. You probably can get a good deal off of there. Battery life on here actually been really good for in my usage. At least I could fully get a day's worth, go to sleep, wake up, and then charge the device. So I think that that's pretty good after an 8-hour night of work, of streaming music, and you know, watching some videos and things like that. This device ends up at an 8-hour night at work at 50%, which I think is actually pretty good in my use, especially considering that I'm streaming music all night. You know, I'll watch some videos or whatnot, and it's on 5G pretty much all night. I think that leaving work at 8 hours at 50% is actually quite good. So battery life in my usage, it may differ between people, is actually quite strong. So another thing I love about this is the personalization on this device. Very Material U, a lot of Material U options that you could get on here. You could personalize the fonts, the colors. You could do so much on this device. You could customize the colors, everything on here. It's very nice. You could do the display size, your wallpapers, your icon shapes. There's so much to do on here. The Motorola includes to customize your device, and I love that they do that. You could change your icon shape to square, rounded to squircle, anything. You could change a lot of stuff on here to customize it and make it yours. And I love that they included that Material U goodness on the Motorola Edge. Like is the fingerprint sensor. I know a lot of people prefer the side-mounted fingerprint sensor, but I like in-display fingerprint sensors, and if they do it right, I have no problems with them. And this one is actually quite fast and works really well in my opinion. It's an optical fingerprint sensor, and it's very fast and very snappy. Plus, you also get face unlock on here, which is fantastic. And I think they both work pretty well. Fingerprint sensor is fast, no complaints. I hardly get any misreads. And I do love the animation that you could change for that to give you a different animation. So that's pretty cool that you have that on there. Things that I don't like, and the first on the list is going to be this front-facing camera. So pictures may come out okay, but that video on this front-facing camera is absolutely horrid. The background gets blown out way too much. There's this flashing if it's too bright. Very, very bad. You'll probably be seeing a little shot of it right over here of what I'm talking about. So video on the front facing camera, totally not that great. Very unacceptable, especially this camera has a 32 megapixel front facing camera. Should do a lot better than that. Plus it only caps out at 1080p. Very disappointing. Pictures, they come out okay, but that video on that camera up here, not good, guys. Not good, Motorola. Not good at all. So the ultra wide, as far as cameras go, it's a good camera, but I think it's a little weak when it comes down to the other, the main sensor on here. 13 megapixels I think does okay, but the ultra wide could have been a little better. Really not that serious. I'm just nitpicking here. Software on here as well. I'm not expecting, you know, timely software updates on the Motorola Edge 2022. This is on a July security patch. No updates have been sent out for this device, so keep that in mind. This is the LG is doing better than Motorola right now on their devices, and they're not even in the game anymore. So yeah, the software updates, not expecting too much from Moto. And yeah, July security patch here, and we're already in October, guys. Come on. So going on storage, the only thing, this isn't really Motorola's fault, pretty much T-Mobile's fault, but the T-Mobile version only has 128 gigabytes of storage. Yes, that sucks. Every other version you buy at Best Buy, at an Amazon, and from Motorola are gonna have 256 variants. And like I said, that's really not Motorola's fault. That's T-Mobile's fault for picking this. But it doesn't matter. This phone is free, and I'll take 120 gigabytes gladly on this phone because I think it is worth it. Charger in the box. Yes, Motorola has started that trend with their devices just like everybody else has, and not giving us a charger, even though this is a mid-ranger phone. I think mid-ranger phones and budget phones are still giving us chargers. Motorola stopped doing that. No 30-watt charger. Yes, this phone supports 30-watt charging, but where the hell is the charger? Come on, guys, give us a charger in the box. Whoever started this, stop doing it. Apple, screw you. You guys started it. Samsung, screw you too. You guys went on with it. We need chargers in the box. It is our decision, not your decision. So give us chargers in the box. Last on the list is going to be always on display, as there is none. We get a peak display right here, but after a while, it will go off until you interact with the phone. And considering this is an OLED device, I would prefer an always on display, as we didn't get them in the past because they were LCD devices, and you can't have an always on display on an LCD panel. But considering that this is an OLED, I think Motorola should have given us an AOD just to have things a little bit better. You do have the peak display on here to where you could view your stuff on here as well and reply. So that's pretty cool that you could do things like that. When you pick it up, it will activate your peak display and your fingerprint sensor. But still, I would have preferred an always on display on a Motorola Edge 2022 just because it has a fantastic OLED panel, and I think it could have handled it just fine. So those are pretty much everything about the Motorola Edge 2022 and my 2 weeks of using it. Definitely like this phone a lot. It does have its little quirks, but as far as performance goes, battery life, display, speaker quality, all pluses on this device. I love this device a lot, and considering the fact that I got it for free, loving it even more. It's just that front facing camera, horrible. Maybe it'll be fixed in an update, hopefully in the future if we get any more updates. So yeah, 2 weeks with the Motorola Edge 2022. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down, and I will see you next time. Peace.